First time you two have been in together, so that's fun. That's new. I'm very excited for that. And what's kind of going on with Mpact, and I guess with each one of you individually as well?
A lot and lots of growth, for sure. And literally every single aspect, I feel like it's a whole new Marcalley and Miranda sitting here since last time we were in these chairs, which is really cool. As far as Mpact goes, we had a lot of competitors last year. We had a lot of events, and it's funny because we started out last year and didn't really realize the just magnitude of what Mpact was going to become. And now we're starting out this year in such a just eager and excited spot, because last year we set the bar so freaking high for events and stuff like that. So really, really excited to have that moving forward this year, and just a team behind me to help move this mission forward is huge. I know last time I sat in these chairs, I only had one other member on the team, and here we are. Now there's 4 of us. So that's growth.
Yeah, big year.
Yeah, for sure. And then just more competitors than ever. No, in 2022, we had 4 competitors. And then you fast forward to 2023, we had 13. So just the magnitude of growth was kind of wild. But it's so cool because it all started just as the community, and as women stepped on stage, they showed other women that it was possible, and they showed them the work ethic it took to get there, and just seeing it firsthand, just lit so many other women up. So it's just we always say impact women, but last year was all of that coming to fruition, and it's really, really cool to start off this year in that spot and just continue riding it out and just growing the community even bigger. I know we have big, exciting plans for just events coming this year. Last year we did happen to secure a Mpact beach house, so the retreats are happening. We are looking to do one in spring of 2024 and then also fall of 2024. So I know the girls are super excited about that. We're super excited for it, just to spend time with them one-on-one and away from the competing aspect, because we did cultivate Mpact weekends last year, and that was a game changer. Just events around show day where the lifestyle athletes could come in, the competitors could come in, they could meet women from all over. Just having that close-knit community on show day, I'm man, I wish I would have had this when I first got into competing, and to be able to give that back to our women is seriously the coolest thing ever. So I'm excited to just keep growing that for sure.
How do you, going into a new year and looking at goals and stuff like that, I think especially when you're younger, you can kind of double, it's easier to double because it's more manageable to double things, or triple or quadruple your, whatever it is, your income or your clients or your, staff or whatever. But as you grow, it's much harder to go from, 1 to 2, or it's harder to go from 1 to 2, or 2 to 4 than 1 to 2, and 4 to 8, so how do you manage expectations but also still set high goals?
That's a great question. And I think it's just sticking to the processes that got us here. We have great processes with our team calls, with our just how we take care of our clients. So just making sure that those standards stay set, no matter how busy we may feel, no matter how busy, that's how we're going to be able to grow, is by sticking to those processes, and then also understanding taking care of our clients and continuing to just pour back into that community. Because really, right now, we're at such a cool point where we can go to team lifts and stuff, and they're taking care of one another. So it's we have these OG impactors, and they're stepping up to the plate to give back. So it's really cool because the community is so much bigger than us now. So yeah, just continuing to pour into them every single team lift, and building their education, building their knowledge. So guess what? When they're working with their friends, their fellow impacts, they're learning from each other, and that is so much more valuable than us being the only ones to lead it. But giving them little things to just help out and step up to the plate is really cool.
Definitely. And then kind of on that same note though, for your own mind, looking into, okay, when 2025 rolls around, let's say, okay, we've grown, let's just say 200, 300% in 2023. So in 2024, we kind of set goals And then in 2025, we look back and it's like, okay, well, the goals that we set, we may have achieved, but they weren't necessarily to the same crazy degree. How do you keep the excitement within yourself up, knowing that like you still achieved goals and like you still are doing the things that you want to do and helping people and things like that? But I think, as an ambitious person, you're always excited to see bigger numbers and things grow and things like that. So I guess how do you, on a personal level, take the somewhat smaller victories, because they could still be great victories and even, crazy numbers to look at from like a big perspective, but the smaller compared to maybe a 200 or 300% growth and looking at it from more of a, okay, we grew this year 10% or 20% or 30%.
That's another great question. I think I always say this to my team, but what got us here won't get us to our next level. And I truly believe that to my core, because we have to keep digging deeper. We have to keep getting better. We have to keep pushing ourselves to what we're capable of. And again, I think that just goes back to like finding what is exciting and like us chasing it with all of our might. Like last year, we didn't even start the year with like Impact Weekend. We're going to do this. It was literally like, hey, how can we give back to our community and what does this event look like? And we just kind of did one thing after another. We kind of flew by the seat of our pants, like no game plan. And it turned out to be the best weekend of the year. So it's like, it's so cool when we got on like our final team call of the year. It was like, hey, let's do a recap and like what was everyone's favorite part of this year, and everyone's like, Impact Weekend changed my life. And it's like, you guys, we didn't even go into that with a plan. Like imagine this year when we have like, okay, we're gonna have agendas, we're gonna like have a plan and just be more prepared for it. And then guess what, we take that excitement, what we cultivated there, and we poured into our retreats. And now we have an even next level, more experience, like more just impact, where they can like come in, they can grow, they can learn how to meal prep on the spot. And that's all things like, yeah, we talk about it, but like to be around that and to be around that energy is like, you come back a different person from those kinds of events. So to be able to give like a condensed like 3-day, just like everything, like how can we level up mindset, education, training, just like the daily routines and all of that, giving them all of that on the spot, like it's gonna be next level. Like it gives me chills because I know what just the energy, it's hard to even explain. I mean, we have like videos and stuff of it, but unless you were there for like that first Impact Weekend, it was like, dude, that set the bar high, like time to get even better. So just I think continuing to level up and set our expectations higher and say, hey, there's still more to give. There's still more we can add to these events and just make it fun. And that's what it's all about, is just having that community that supports one another. So I think that's really just leaning into what excites us and going full force after it.
What do you think that draws people to do those things, even if they may not have the feel of a, in the past, more maybe a fully planned, fully developed kind of idea yet? Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
I think we do such a good job online already that it's like when they have the opportunity to take it to that next level in person, they're going to jump at it. It's kind of hard being online sometimes because you wish you were with the people all the time and you wish you could be one-on-one in person. But we're an online coaching company. So when you have the chance to do that in person and take that next step, our girls are like over the moon because they've seen the impact that they can have on others and that other people can have on them just over like text or calls or, whatever it is. So to do that in person and take it to that next level, I mean, we could probably tell them like, hey, next weekend we're doing something. And they'd be like, okay, and it's just the opportunity to grow. And I think every single girl we have on our team is just so incredible. And so when they have the opportunity, they're going to take it because they're always wanting to learn more, grow more, and just support each other and be supported back. And I think that's why they are just always down for whatever, because they just know that it's going to be good. They know that they're going to get something from it.
Well, being an online coaching business, obviously your interactions are mostly online, or, even if they're over Zoom or over a call or something like that, it's still not an in-person interaction, which can, when you do meet somebody, it's still that first meeting, or it's still, I haven't really seen you in X amount of time. So what do you feel like you guys do that brings like a feeling of comfortability? Is that a right word? To these people to be like, okay, I haven't seen you in a month or 3 months or 6 months, but I'm comfortable to come and have this great interaction with you and not feel like it's just our first time we've seen each other in so long.
Yeah. I think we set the expectation from the beginning that like, hey, we value community here. We are very, we prioritize it a lot. And, I know that like when we do onboarding calls and things like that with clients, I always make it a point to, or we all do, but to be like, hey, we can give you macros and training and we can give you the game plan all day long. But if you don't have that community behind you, you're not going to go as far as you could. I think so many people have done so many things on their own and they think that that's going to get them where they need to be. And then they have a community behind them and realize like, oh my gosh, I can go so much further than I could. So we have team calls, we have a group chat that goes off all day, every day, just of women supporting other women, but also sharing their struggles. And I think that's one thing that really brings them closer together. I always tell my girls, like, if you're struggling with something, at least 10, probably even more, obviously, women on our team have struggled with the same thing, and they'll be able to help you through it. So doing that and then just hyping each other up, and it's so real. It's like, all the comments are true, genuine support and love for one another. And like you said, it is hard to build that online, but so many things are done online now anyway. And I think we do a really good job of facilitating that and just making sure that everyone feels supported and just making sure that they know they have that support behind them. And so they're open and feel comfortable sharing those things with girls they've never met in person.
I love that. I was going to say, we really, really value authenticity. And that comes along with like being vulnerable and sharing your struggles like while you're going through them, because it allows them to show us that or it allows them to see us like as we're human. And guess what? If they can connect with us online, like then they come in person and they're like, oh my gosh, you're exactly like that. Like your energy is like just as good. That's incredible. And I'm like, my energy is actually better because you're here like in real life. So it's just like, it's cultivating that realness and saying, hey, we're not perfect. We are just striving to be better every single day. So I know we have a lot of just like, hey man, I fell off track this weekend and guess what? I got right back to it, but I'm not above the law. I'm not perfect on my macros. So I think it's just being able to relate to them and let them know like we have our struggles too. And really at every level, you're gonna have those struggles. It's just how do we keep self-assessing and how do we keep evolving as we're growing through them? So our team just being super close and like chatting about it, and I'm constantly asking for feedback as well as like giving feedback, and I think that just holds us accountable to constantly evolving, constantly getting better, like saying, hey, where are our blind spots? Do we feel like we're having enough client calls? Do we feel like we're connecting hard enough? Are we going above and beyond? Are we asking about how their dog is? Like, are we doing those things to like go above and beyond like Mpact originally set out to be? Because it's like, as you grow, like you've got to make sure that those details don't get lost. So, and then like just continuing to improve on the processes that we have and like being able to connect through video and stuff like that. And just, again, going above and beyond. But I think a big thing is collaborating as a team. They're always, I was just telling them like yesterday, I kind of get stuck in my rut of like how I've been doing it. It's like, hey, this is working, like let's keep going and this is what we're comfortable with. But sometimes it takes like, just like the other day, my assistant coach was like, hey, we need to dive into like the client journey and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're right, we do. We have a whole different impactor now than we did 2 years ago. Like they're just getting more and more advanced because truly like they're surrounded. They're progressing quicker because they see what is possible. So it's like, how can we educate them more quicker? Because in the beginning it was like, oh, we're throwing all this education at them, but we're honestly overwhelming them. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. But how can we clarify it? How can we break it down and show them exactly where they are in the client journey? And how can we just keep getting them better? So just always looking at it, always being open to that. And again, what got us here won't get us to our next level. So continuing to improve as humans, as leaders, and then also always getting feedback from our impactors. I think that's another thing we're really good about, is asking them straight up, like, hey, are you satisfied? What else would you like to see? Because really our impactors have the great ideas as well. Like, they're like, hey, can we add this to Impact Weekend? And like, we did bracelets and stuff like that. And like, I wouldn't have thought about that, but just like fun stuff. And now they all have I still have mine on. So just like cute little things like that. Just getting their input and allowing them to help us make the community even better.
How do you feel like you can keep it relatable to that younger, or maybe, I guess it really doesn't matter if it's younger or when I say younger, like a younger in their journey kind of age, or older in that journey kind of age, but how do you keep it to where everybody feels comfortable with where they are starting?
I love that. And really our resources are set up like from the beginner standpoint. So it's like we attack the basics in the beginning. And then also, I think something we're going to tap into eventually, I've already kind of started doing this like subtly, but pairing them up. So like when they come in saying, hey, you would be an awesome fit with so-and-so. She's been here for 2 years, but you guys are very, very similar. And like for them to have somebody who's already been through the process, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I get it. Like I get what you're talking about when you say the scale is scary, and like I'm putting all my emphasis in that, but like that's not really, we got to get past that to really get the gains that we want, kind of thing. So yeah, cultivating that community, allowing them to connect with the women who have been before them, because I think that truly shows them what's possible. And then also it empowers the other women to say, hey, I get to teach her the stuff that I've learned. Like that's what Impact is all about. Like when we have team calls and stuff, like we'll be like, so does anybody have any tips that they've loved? And like we'll say things like a year ago and we're like, oh yeah, we did teach you that. That's awesome. And like it's just so routine to us. I know a big thing with that has been like morning routine. Like I'm like, my morning routine it's legit. Like I don't even realize I do it. I just subconsciously do it now. But these new women coming in, like that's not something that's second nature to them yet. So when the OG impactors are talking about their morning routine, they're like, oh, I started out here. And like just helping them along their journey like is so huge. And they'll straight up like interrupt a team call to say, hey, like this helped me and so told me about that. So it's just really cool to like give them that empowerment to let them lead one another, really. And
so, you coming into this, when was that? Was that around October? Or is that just a random?
I started as a coach?
Yeah.
June.
June?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting all my dates confused. But
okay.
So that being, almost half a year now, a little over half a year, what has that experience kind of been like for you?
Yeah, it's been wild, but in the best way possible. Because I did coach on my own for a while, and Miranda was the one who, helped me get all of that started. And so I always had her in my back pocket, but I didn't have a team behind me, or not behind me, but with me. And so joining Impact, I feel like I have leveled up as a coach so much just in what I've learned, the experiences I've had, just having a much larger client load, and just, again, being a part of a team has just changed everything. I never ever want to coach on my own again, because I'm like, I've seen what you can do as a larger team, and having different minds come together and create new ideas and things like that. But also, I think one of the biggest things is like having someone to keep you on your shit and be like, hey, we've got to grow here, and that's what leaders are for. That's what Miranda's for. That's what my other coaches and all of our team is for. So I feel like I've just leveled up. I've loved every single part of being a coach with Impact, and just the energy that we constantly have. And like, if one person's struggling with something, I can be like, hey, Coach Sierra, can you help a little bit with this? Or like, hey, Miranda, I'm struggling with this. And it's not all on you. And it's, you obviously still have to take responsibility, and you need to hold your own and do your part within the team. But knowing that if something comes up, you have someone to help you get through it is really helpful. So yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, I feel like I've grown so much, and I mean, having more clients means more personalities and more uniqueness to every single person in their journey. So my ability to look at a girl and, she just came on, I just watched her call, or I just had a call with her, and then I'm like, okay, I have all this data to compile, and I need to figure out what works best for her in the beginning. I think those skills have grown a lot, because again, I've had so many different personalities, physical body types, mental, mindset and where they're at with that. And just, it allows you to grow a lot in the way that you guide them to where they need to be. So those skills have grown.
So, you mentioned like that call and having that interaction with someone, whether it be over phone or over Zoom or something like that. Either way, really, this is more just for the general kind of coach out there. But what have you learned, I guess, about that leading up to that call, whether it be your first call or your 100th call with that person?
First thing I do is always make sure I have time in between. So if I have multiple calls that day, I'm not a person who can jump from one call to the other. I want time to prepare. I want to make sure that I have everything together, like on my computer and all of that stuff pulled up, but also that I'm in a good mindset to be able to focus on that person, truly listen to what they're saying and respond in an effective way. Another thing is, just prepare. I mean, odds are the call's not going to go as expected 99% of the time, but if you prepare and you have those procedures in place, then you know how to handle it. But the other biggest thing is hopping on that call is just, that girl is taking time out of their day to talk to me. So they deserve for me to be 100% focused, 100% listening to what they're saying, whether it's a new call with a possible client or a call with a client I've had for 6 months or a year. It doesn't matter. They all deserve the same amount of attention. They all deserve the same amount of respect and focus. So just like taking a minute, getting it together and being like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm attentive. And then just listening to what they're saying, like truly listening, because, you have procedures in place and, certain things that you need to talk about, but taking that a couple levels deeper and not just sticking to the questions you have asked, but also like if something comes up, responding to that and making sure that that is addressed just as much as the things that, need to be addressed ahead of time. Just active listening, like those skills you learn when you're young, but they come into play and they're very important to make sure that that person feels heard. So just preparing, but again, just being willing to know that you're probably going to come up with some things on this call that you didn't prepare for, and that's okay too, because that's what the call is for. It's what that person needs in that moment.
If there are like some standard questions, some basic stuff that just kind of gets the ball rolling on it, do you have those for every call?
For discovery calls, yes, which is what we call any calls that we do with a prospective client. So, a girl we've been chatting with, she's not a client yet. We set up a call. We always start by, just introducing ourselves, asking them a little bit about themselves, what their day looks like, all of the basics. And then we go into a little bit deeper of those questions of, why you're here, what your goals are, how long you've been putting them off, and just questions like that to understand, yes, what are those goals, but what led you to those goals? Because that's truly, I think, like what is even more important than the goals is like the why behind it. And we've talked about this, I think, even on this podcast before, but asking that why is so important because when that person's struggling, going back to that why is going to allow them to get past what they're struggling with. So yeah, we ask a lot of calls like that. Intention setting, goal setting, and just diving deep into what they've been doing, why it isn't working, so that we can make sure we're tailoring to that unique person and say, okay, well, if you've tried this, that might be something I was going to try. But if I know you're trying it and it's not working, then I need to figure out what is going to work from a coaching perspective. And just, after that, we ask, what your struggles are. And again, get a little bit deep, but that's the point of those calls. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be comfortable because they're not going to grow if it's just easy to answer questions that you can just think of. So sometimes we'll have girls and like Miranda will even tell us like, hey, on those calls, sit with them for a second. If it's uncomfortable, if it's awkward, if it's, give them time to sit and truly think about an answer. And that's what forces them to open up, but in a good way, because you have to go past the surface level to get that relationship between client and coach to make sure that you are a good fit. Because that's what, I'm not going to hop on a call knowing like, okay, if this person wants it, they're here. Like you want to make sure that you're a good fit. Obviously you want to make sure they're a good fit for you, but that you're a good fit for them. Because again, they deserve that. They deserve a coach that they can trust too. So just figuring out that and then going from there.
Having that time where you're maybe they're opening up more and things like that. Is there, not like in a sneaky way, but is there like a strategy or something to do to like close things up on more of like a comfort ending, if that makes sense? Like you start out your, basic questions, your entry level, getting the feel of them, and then you ask some more, personal and deeper questions. But are there things, like how do you roll that up into like, this wasn't just like a weird, deep experience. This was something that like had a beginning, middle, and end. There was like comfort to it throughout. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you make that thing that they might not have told anybody else more comfortable when they hang up the phone, knowing like, okay, I can trust this person because whatever however they kind of wrap that up.
I love that. That's a great question. I think the biggest thing here is being yourself. And when you're yourself, people can feel that. And that's why I think we've been able to get the results in the community, the relationships, the buy-in to the Mpact culture that we have is because of that realness. Now, I know I started Mpact because when I grew up, my mom was the constant dieter. She was dieting every Monday. She's still to this day. I'm like, I couldn't change her. But guess what? Here, I have women coming to me wanting to make it change. So like that freaking lights me up because guess what? A lot of those women, they're moms and they're going to show their daughters that their daughters don't have to start every single Monday. So just giving them that empowerment and that freedom back in their lives to understand, hey, I'm fueling my body. Hey, I'm chasing my strongest version, not my smallest version. And stopping that vicious cycle because like still to this day, I watch my mom struggle with that and it hurts my heart. But here I am, I'm like, I know the reason that I saw all of this growing up was to be able to give back to women who do want this. So genuinely, like just being real on that call and saying like, hey, the reason I got into this is because of that. So like, yes, I may ask some uncomfortable questions and I apologize, but truly it's for your future. And when's the last time we've sat down and really figured out what we want in life? Because if we don't know what that lifestyle looks like that we're chasing, how do we get there? So just being able to have that open and honest conversation, keeping it real, and then they're like, oh, okay, I have nothing to lose. Like, I haven't been here before, but guess what? If we don't go where we've never been, we're not going to be able to break through new levels. So I think it's funny when they do finally start, like, opening up, they're like, oh my gosh, I need this more than I realize. Like, this is affecting my kids. This is affecting my spouse. This is affecting, and then that's kind of when Mpact comes into play. And like, that's why we're working to change this lifestyle, because guess what? If you're always starting a diet on a Monday, I promise your confidence is suffering. I promise the way you're showing up for those kids is suffering. Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if we can get you empowered, fueling your body, now your kids are going to feel like that too. And like, we want to raise strong women, and strong kids. So, yeah, I think that's just being real and being able to connect. And again, going back to the mission of why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And reassurance too, like just telling them, before they even start opening up, saying whatever you are struggling with, it's okay. You know, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to listen. So I think that allows them to open up. And then I think the part where we really take it back to the positive note, like Miranda said, is showing them like why it's important to talk about this, why it's important to acknowledge and accept those struggles, and then telling them what we offer and how we can help. And I think that ends it on a much more positive note. And, you know, they were able to open up, but we're also able to close it on that note of like, it's okay that you're struggling, but now we're going to focus on the positive. And so instilling that in them and just showing them, here's what we're going to do to address that uniquely and for you, individualized to you. So,
and, you know, because there are people out there that, you know, won't change, you know, they're the Monday dieters, or, you know, they're the, I'm good for a month or I'm good for 3 months or whatever. How is that kind of addressed in regards to this person, you know, starts on, because I think at the beginning everything's more like energized and more exciting for an individual. And then there's that time frame when it kind of loses a little bit of its shine. Even if you keep doing the stuff you're supposed to be doing, maybe you don't see those results. Like, you know, maybe other people can start to see them, or maybe, you know, there's even metrics that show them, but you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I've done all this work and I don't see anything. How do you kind of keep that person who maybe in the past has either rebounded or, you know, went back to whatever else they were doing before in that time period? How do you keep them on track during that time period between the start and when they start to really see the difference? Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
Heck yeah. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think just like all the stuff we have every single week after week. I know we have like Transformation Thursdays in our group chat, and those like pop off every single week. And we have like new girls popping in, and they're like, I've never shared before, but like I'm feeling confident. And like that pushes other women to start sharing. So just keeping it fun, engaging. I know we just started like a Feel Good Friday, and that's all non-scale victories. So like for the woman who struggles to even share her pictures, like what is she working on? And we have women who are like, I'm week 1 and I'm pushing harder than I ever have. Or I'm like, I've been here 9 months and I finally got those 5 pull-ups I've been chasing, or like wherever they are. And it's just really, really cool that we're recognizing those wins and we're giving them that place to share, and then other women are seeing it. So just keeping them excited, even if it's like the smallest of things, because really those small compounding wins are what keep us getting better. And also I think just always hitting on better every day. Like you guys, we don't have to, because what we see is women will come on board and then they'll kind of retract to that perfectionism. And like women in general, like just society wants us to be perfect in jobs. And like if you're not being perfect, you failed. And it's like, really, there's no failures. There's only lessons learned. So how do we get better from this? And how do we get better every day through that? And I think we do a great job with our team calls on that, just dropping like motivational things to keep them good and engaged, and just keeping that communication open to say, hey, if you're struggling, it's okay. Like, let's chat about it. Let's make it exciting. Let's get you revamped. Also taking them back to the beginning, because they never realize how far they come until they take that look back and be like, oh my gosh, I said that. And like we have a lot of onboarding questionnaires, like what's your why? What's your mantra for this journey ahead? What's your biggest fear? And like they forget about the fears that they write. And I'm like, could you even imagine saying that right now? Because no, they couldn't. They were like, they had a fear of stepping in the gym, and now they're in the gym 6 times a week and they're inviting their other friends to the gym. So it's just like, it's so cool to see that evolution. And they don't even realize how far they've truly come until we take it back to like day 1 and be like, hey, did you know you said that? So that's really cool. That's something I think we've done a great job on.
I think the mental transformations are the ones that you don't see until you look back and kind of, you know, you put yourself in your old shoes and think, you know, wow, I can't believe that I was, like you said, afraid to do that, or these were my beliefs on, you know, me building muscle, or, you know, eating 2,500, 3,000 calories a day, whatever it may be, you know, on an individual basis.
I mean, your brain literally tells your body what to do every single second of every single day, every motion you do, every word you speak. So when you break it down and you think about that, just like you said, if your brain is going to believe it, your body is probably going to be able to do it most of the time. And if you have those doubts in your head, you know, they're valid, they're okay. Everybody goes through that, but you're just holding yourself back on a level that is just, you have to break through it. You have to break through it to get to where you want to be physically. So, I mean, you know, 99.9% of the time, every single person who joins Mpact does see the physical progress, but it's slower for some people, and it's hard for them. You know, we have clients who it's just harder based on their body, based on their DNA, their anatomy, you know, whatever they're made up of. So for those clients, especially, just instilling that mindset is so important, because those, like you said, those wins and those achievements are, in my opinion, even more important than the physical ones, but just as important, if anything. So starting with that mindset, and we set those foundations early on, and we're like, hey, we're going to get there physically, but like, we have to make sure you're there mentally first, because that is what's most important. And that is going to guide you there and lead you there. And you have to prioritize that.
Yeah. And so people that, you know, when they feel like they should be seeing results, you know, they may come to their coach and say, you know, why am I not here? Why am I not, you know, where I think I should be? Or is there that initial kind of thought of, okay, are they really buying in?
If you have that mental block and that mental fog, you're not going to see it physically either. And that's what a lot of times too, like we will see the progress in our clients, and like sometimes it's like mind blowing to us, and they're like, I've made no changes physically. And I'm like, dude, you have to, like, it's so crazy to me, because I'm like, how do you not see this? But when then I think about like myself and how far I've come. And I'm like, Miranda used to tell me the exact same thing. You know, I'd be like, oh my God, I look the exact same as I did 4 months ago. And she's like, are you like actually crazy? Like it's wild. So, and it really does start with that mindset. So if you are willing to accept that like, hey, I have changed and that's something to be proud of, then you're going to see it. But it's really hard when you have that mental fog and the body dysmorphia comes up and all of those things that are going to keep you from seeing how far you've truly come. But, and like you said too, you know, you have two people who could come from pretty much the exact same starting point and do the exact same thing, and they're going to get different results. Mm-hmm. And whether that's partly mindset, partly obviously, you know, how you respond physiologically to your training program that you're given and the food and all of that. It's just different for everybody. So you have to remind people of that too. Like, we are all on our own journeys. It takes different time for every single person, no matter where you think you should be. But yeah, just keeping them positive, showing them the wins. A lot of times, like, I'll put side-by-side pictures because they forget to do that. They have the progress pictures that they submit every single week, but they forget to go back and look at them. So I'll make like side-by-side ones and send it to them randomly, especially if they're struggling with seeing the changes. And I've had so many people who've been like, oh my gosh, now that you see it side by side, like, wow, that really is me and I really have come far. But we look at ourselves in the mirror every single day. You're not going to notice those changes. But when you take it back to the beginning and put one picture and one picture side by side, you're going to see them. So just doing those things to help remind them and keep them excited.
And we always talk about you can only go as far as your mindset will allow you to go. So I think also going back to that client and asking the right questions, like, do you think you deserve this? Do you think you're worthy of this? Because again, when have they been asked that? And like having them almost journal through that and like really like trying to figure out like their worth and stuff like that. Because guess what? A woman who feels like she is worthy and feels like she is capable of greatness, like she's going to show up like that. So it's like us helping them step into that version of themselves, like that is a game changer. Another thing we really, really work on is focusing on the work and not focusing on the results and almost allowing the results to be a byproduct, because I promise, girl, if you're showing up every single day, the results are going to come. But if we're only focused on the results and what's not happening, guess what? That's what you're going to see. But if we're focusing on, oh my gosh, you're hitting your macros more than ever. You're getting your protein in. You're getting your your training in. You're hitting more PRs than ever. Like, the results are going to find love in the journey and the results will come. But I know when I get in those phases, it's like I'm so focused on the results that I forget to even look at the work that I'm doing. And it's like, no, we've got to take it a step back and like focus on the work, be proud of that. And then, bam, the results are a byproduct. And it becomes really fun when we can get them to that point. But it's tough. I mean, it takes a while, and it takes so many times going through that to be like, hey, I'm doing that thing again, where I focus on the results. Because, I mean, we do it in bodybuilding preps. We're like, we're not lean enough. But it's like, no, we're right on target. Like, we've just got to keep dialing in, keep getting better every single day, keep pushing harder. So I think we do a great job really hitting on that. And then team lifts, it's cool to see them come together and like push each other and say, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm like going backwards or da-da. And they're like, I feel like that too. But like, then I started focusing on more PRs or slowing my training down or sending over training videos and really tapping into that. And now it's like so much more fun and I'm getting even better. I didn't know I could get this good. So it's cool to see them have those breakthroughs for sure.
Yeah, and going back to the thing you said about the side-by-side pictures, I think there's also maybe a slight fear of doing that because you don't want to, like, if you don't think you've seen results, then if you put those pictures side by side, you might think, oh man, I'm going to see nothing there, and it's going to be kind of like a heartbreaker. And
yeah, well, that's why I do it for them, so that because they're probably not going to do it because they do have that fear. And I've done that with myself. I have that fear of that for myself as well. But from a coach's perspective and from, someone different than yourself doing it, you're going to see it when it's sent to you. But yeah, it is scary. And also, I mean, kind of like Miranda said, talking more about, bodybuilding specifically, like you always think you should be somewhere. And that goes with lifestyle clients too. And people who are just starting, they think that they should look like whoever they look up to. I compare myself to pros all the time. And I'm like, I'm a year and like a couple months into bodybuilding. I shouldn't be there, but it's just what we do as a society. But yeah, like Miranda said, focusing on how far you've come and not where you think you should be, because once you get there, you're going to think you should be farther than there anyway. And so you're really never satisfied, which is a really cool, great trait to have, to always be like wanting more and striving for more or for better or for whatever goal it is. But you have to be proud of yourself too. I know I've struggled with this a ton as a client, and coaching has actually helped a lot because I'm so proud of my clients when they reach a milestone or when they hit those goals that they've been working for so long, even before they started with me. I'm so excited for them. And it makes you take a step back and be like, why can I not be excited for myself too? With progress pictures, with physical goals in the gym, with whatever goals it is that you have. Taking a step back and applying that to yourself, because we do it with clients and we hype them up and we're so excited for them, and then it's ourselves and we're like, nope, I'm not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know what it is, but there's something like unique about whenever you're focused on yourself, it's harder to see yourself, but when you're focusing on helping others, it's easier kind of to see like the reality of your own situation.
yeah, I think that goes back to even just like as humans, like we're made to help other people. And you sometimes, yes, we always tell our clients like be selfish sometimes because you have to love yourself first. But help others and find the gratitude, like you said, just being grateful for what you have. And when you help others, you do see that a lot more clearly, I think. But I mean, we prioritize gratitude so much because it's something that we just take for granted so easily. And just, I think as a society, everybody does that. So taking a second to appreciate the small things, and not only the physical things, but also like how far you've come and those sort of progress. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Miranda.
No, I love that. Yeah, just focusing on the gratitude, I think, is huge, because it's like if you're not focused on the fact that we have health and we're able to go to the gym, we're able to walk our 2 feet in there, like, and we're complaining about like, oh my gosh, I have to go do my workouts. It's like, wait up. Let's take this back a notch. When once upon a time, we may have not even been healthy enough to get into the gym. Like, just keeping that perspective of like our bodies get to work for us when we take care of them. So when again, that I think that just goes back to like loving the journey. Like that is so crucial, because if we're not loving the journey, then it's gonna feel like I have to do this, I have to meal prep. But like, how fortunate are we to be able to go to the grocery, get our food, meal prep, make fresh homemade food, have electricity, like just all these little things that we take for granted. Once we shift our focus to like, no, actually I get to do this, like that is a very, very powerful place in itself. And our girls who can flip that switch of saying, hey, I get to go to the gym, like they start to love it quicker. So like using all those little things that we talk about, and I'm guilty of it too sometimes. Like you just get in your habits and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the gym today. It's so cold. I could stay in my bed. But like, no, I get to do this. And like just having a community that cultivates that, I think, is very, very important, because it's a little thing, but it really, like, your perspective creates everything, and that makes you just enjoy life more. And that's ultimately what we want for our community, is to not wait till the end to be happy, because a lot of society is doing that. Oh, when I lose this 50 pounds, I will be happy. But it's like, no. If we didn't change anything along the way, you're going to be the exact same. So let's focus on the gratitude in the beginning and the fact that we get to do this and our bodies are able and healthy, and let's keep encouraging one another to do this. So,
but I also think we have like, maybe it's an innate human thing that we like want to be, I don't want to say lazy, but we want to find the easiest way to do stuff. But if you've ever experienced not like never having like a responsibility or like a reason, I guess, having no purpose, like that's a very bleak kind of state.
For sure. I mean, I think that kind of falls into like personal responsibility. And I think when we can get our women to realize like they are in control of their personal responsibility, like that's like a whole different mindset shift, because they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I do have to do this. I have to, if I want to get better, I'm going to have to go to the gym, that kind of thing. And they've never really had that structure in their life. And then they go put that in there. It gives them a sense of purpose. And that allows them to continue to go through the process. But also like not relying on anyone else. I know I just made a post about this not too long ago, but like I was blaming my husband for not eating my macros. Every time he wanted to go out to eat, it was like, oh, Miranda's been in prep for 13 months. I'm going to go eat. And like, no, that did not make me happy. And like, I kept putting it on him, but like truly that I chose to put that food in my mouth. So it's like when you can realize that you are in control of every single action that you're taking, that also gives you that power back, and it allows you to love harder. Because like I was kind of getting like, why does he got to do that? He's trying to sabotage me. No, I'm doing that. I'm looking at it that way. Like if he wants to eat that and he can get away with it, and most men can. I'm like, you still have abs? What? I'm over here struggling. So yeah, just being aware of that, and I think that goes into personal development, self-awareness, personal responsibility. And understanding that discipline creates structure, and ultimately that's going to make you your happiest, because now you're chasing after the goal. You're getting better every day. And really, as humans, we're meant to evolve. If we're staying the same and we're doing the same stuff and we're like, why are we not changing? And nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you've never been disciplined, at first it's going to be hard. It's going to be uncomfortable, but that's how we force that growth, and that's how we become a woman of integrity, a woman who keeps her word. And a big conversation we've been having lately is confidence. Where does confidence come from? It comes from doing the things that you say you're going to do. It does not come from a look. It does not come from the certain clothes that you wear, the designer brands. Like, it does not come from those things that we think it comes from. It literally comes from us keeping our word and getting better every single day. And like not expecting perfection, having grace with ourselves, but also trusting ourselves to get back to it and say, hey, I can bet on myself. I will show up for this because I said I was going to show up for this.
In that moment when you are being disciplined, that like that is a thing that you are choosing to do and like you are benefiting from. I think it's easier to, do whatever it is. You get in the ice bath or go work out or whatever, like it, because you can see each individual kind of action as like a thing that's building kind of another tier in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, we say this a lot, but discipline is the highest form of self-love. And you just explained the reason behind that. But that knowing that like, yeah, you could get the instant gratification of eating the ice cream or not getting your steps in or not going to the gym today because you're tired or whatever it is, whatever excuse you're going to use. It might feel good in the moment and you're like, you know what, I'm doing this for me because this is what I need. But no, that's not what you need. That's what you want right now for about 5 seconds. And then in an hour, you're going to be like, I really regret not doing what I said I was going to do. And that's why it's the highest form of self-love, because you're putting your future self and your higher self and your more holistic self before what you want in the moment. And it's so easy to think that like, and I'm not saying sometimes, yes, you do need an extra rest day. I'm not saying like don't ever listen to your body and what your body is communicating with you. But most of the time, you truly want what you said you were going to do and not what feels good in the moment. So that's, and also having the self-respect. I mean, discipline builds so much respect for yourself, because if you think about it, the people that you respect regardless of yourself in your life are the ones who say they're going to do what they're going to do. And because you're like, okay, they said they were going to do it and they did it, and you have respect for them because of that. No one wants someone who's a hypocrite, and no one looks up to someone who's a hypocrite and says, I'm going to do this, and then they don't do it ever. And so again, you build that self-respect within yourself. You have that discipline and you prioritize that no matter what, which goes back to like when a client's struggling. We talked about this earlier, like how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them excited? And it is important to keep them excited, but also sometimes I'm just like, you might not love it. And you might hate me for being like, get in the gym today. I know you don't want to do it, but you need to do it. And 100% of the time afterward, they're like, thank you. Thank you for making me do it, because you have to have someone in your life you have to hold yourself accountable, but it helps to have someone in your life who's also going to help you do that. Mm-hmm. But just sometimes you just have to do it, and you want the inspiration and the motivation and the excitement to be there. But the reality is it's not going to be there all the time. So you just got to do it.
It's funny, I never thought about it like that, but like instant gratification, like the more you go towards that in that moment, and it's like, okay, today, instant gratification won. and you feel good. Like you said, you feel good in that moment. But tomorrow, or like maybe even sooner, like you kind of feel bad about what you did. And then the next day, if instant gratification wins again, it's like you feel a little bit worse. And it's like we're getting this short-term hit and happiness, but it's not the fulfillment.
It is, and it's like the snowball effect, if you're going to give yourself or if you're going to give into your excuses now and have that instant gratification and feel good for a minute, it's going to be a lot easier to do that next time. But you're right, you are going to feel worse and worse and worse the more you do it. So it's a cycle. It's like, what's that saying that's like something where your energy flows, or your energy goes where your energy flows, or something like that. But it's true. If you're putting your energy toward discipline, toward getting what you have to get done, you're going to automatically be drawn to do that in the future. Whereas on the other hand, if you give in to what you want in the moment or what you think you want in the moment, it's going to be so much easier to make those excuses. You're going to get comfortable making those excuses, and it's going to become a habit. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're really big on, because again, everybody does it here and there, and that's okay. But not getting in the habit of doing it. So if one of our clients does say like, hey, I've been skipping the gym 2 times a week for the past month, it's saying, okay, let's acknowledge it. Let's work through it. But like, put it in the past, because you can't change it. So just how can we move forward? What can we learn, and what can we do better next time that's going to keep you from giving into that? So just like stopping the cycle and making sure that it doesn't become something that's so constant, because that's when you see people not make the changes that they are capable of making, is because those excuses get in the way, and that's where they're giving their energy. So that's what the outcome is going to be based off of.
I was watching this thing yesterday, and this commercial came on, and it was like a blood pressure. Mm-hmm. And, I'm fine with, people need to take medication, they can take it. It was talking about like, okay, this can be an easy kind of fix to your problem of maybe having high blood pressure. And then they mentioned like where you don't have to like worry anymore about the hassle of nutrition and exercise. And I was like, okay, you can sell your thing and promote your thing without also like downing another thing.
And pharmaceutical interventions are important in some cases. I'm not one to be like, never ever take a medication. Like, absolutely no. Consult with your physician and take your medication, do what you need to do. But health and fitness internally and externally should be prioritized first. It should be what you attempt before, in my opinion, in some cases, before you go on to a medication. Obviously, again, sometimes you do need both, and you have to find the balance between the two, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to rely on a medication, if you're going to rely on a quick fix, on something that's just going to do it for you, you're not going to get those results. And you have to prioritize your health and wellness first, because then the second you stop taking that medication, you're back to where you started, and you have no goals and no habits that are actually truly beneficial for your health.
For clients who may see not necessarily the blood pressure, example, but for those things that are more of the heavily marketed quick fixes in this industry, maybe for the new people coming in who haven't gone through the educational side with you all yet and learned the habits and things, are there instances where it's like, somebody will ask, oh, what about this particular, maybe whether it's a supplement they might see on social media, or maybe some sort of medication or some sort of new diet that they see. How do you go about kind of addressing that without, because you don't want to like make them feel bad about bringing it up, but you also don't want to you don't want to be the person who also like says, okay, hey, let's try this, when it's not something maybe good to try in the first place. This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Yeah, a good question. I think just taking it back to the basics and educating them on why we're having more protein, why we're having fruits and veggies, and like just getting them back there, and whatever it may be, like educating them on that as well. Obviously it's up to the client, but I think it's on us to say educate and show them the bigger picture. Because I think sometimes, again, like one question I'll always ask when this comes up is like, so why do you think you need this? And if they're like, well, I'm just not losing weight fast enough. And I'm like, okay, are we hitting our plan to 100%? Are we getting to the gym every single time we're saying it? Like, we can't not do the work. And I always explain it like, if we're going to do 60% of the work, we're going to get 60% of the effort or the results. if we're going to do 100% of the plan, we're going to get 100% of the results. And when we can show them that drastic feedback, they're like, oh, okay, I realize where I can get better here. And then they start kind of getting into their own journey and like that kind of stuff, and not going to that quick fix. And also taking it back to the beginning of like, chances are they've tried things like that, whether that be detox teas or fasting for 3 days. And it's like, well, where did that leave you? Like, we don't want to keep doing what we've always done, because we're going to get what we've always gotten if we keep doing that. But if we take this new approach and we fuel our body and we become our strongest and healthiest version, guess what? Now you're your most resilient, you're most dependable, and like you're not looking for that quick fix, and we're not going up and down. Like, the body's going to be more balanced, and you're just going to be in a better homeostasis, and chances are you don't even know what that feels like yet. We haven't given it enough time to like get there. So just showing them the big picture, also allowing them to like kind of work through in their mind of like, why am I curious about this? What is this spark in here? And then like almost trying to get them to realize where they can level up.
At the end of the day, when you can start to see your goal as more of like a means, you're almost using that goal as like reverse engineering to achieve something. Like the goal, I don't know, like, does that make sense? The goal is almost helping you achieve the goal of doing the things, instead of the things helping you to achieve the goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is definitely set there to like give you purpose. But again, I think as humans, our purpose is to evolve. It's to never stay stagnant. It's to meet our highest self at the end of our lives, kind of thing. And a great book on this is The Mountain Is You. I swear this like changed my life. It's a great book. And we always explain it to our women, like, it's not really about the goal at all. It's actually about who you become in the journey to get to the goal. Because guess what? When you're stepping on that stage, when you've hit your final weight loss, you're going to realize you have so much more. And then the goal only moves further. And if we're waiting to be happy until we get to that goal, like, no, let's enjoy the journey. Let's build habits that actually stick. Let's create a mindset that's resilient. And then you're never going to be stuck again a day in your life, because everybody knows that feeling of like, why can I just not get to where I want to? We get in our own way so much, and we see it so much within our clients of, again, going back to focusing on the results and not focusing on the work. And when we focus on the work, guess what? We're doing that mindset stuff. We're doing the hard things. We're keeping our promises. We're just finding ways for ourselves to level up, whether that be pushing harder in the gym, be more disciplined on our diets, whatever it is. Like, we're building that mental resilience within us, and that's going to take us so much further in every aspect of life. That's going to show our spouses what they're capable of, because really you don't know what you're capable of until you get around people who are doing bigger and bigger things, and then you're like, oh my gosh, if they can do that, they're no different than me. Like, what else can I do? So yeah, it's really cool when you focus on who you're becoming in the journey instead of just that goal, and allowing that to be your bigger purpose.
I think one thing I was going to add is, if you were to take yourself now and then just jump to your goal, you're going to, like Miranda said, you're going to be the exact same person if you reach the goal or if you don't. So it's not about that. It's about who, like literally what you said, who you become in the process. One thing I think about, like, if you don't love yourself now, or if there's something that you want to grow or evolve within yourself, you're not going to get there by reaching a goal. You're going to get there by the steps that lead to the goal and who you become in the journey. You're not just going to change because you reach the goal. You're going to change because you did the work to reach the goal, which is such a cool thing. Like, it's a really cool thing to focus on. Yeah. And it does keep you like aligned with the journey and with the steps you have to take to get there.
Yeah. I will say, I feel like when I find myself stuck in focusing on the results, I just feel a lot of defeat. And then I don't have that happiness. I don't have that joy. And it's kind of like, now I just don't want to show up. And like, my mind will like win. And really, I think we all come up against these battles. And I think bodybuilding is like the first thing to bring it out. If you've ever done a bodybuilding prep, you know you have to go to a dark place to really push through. But the whole reason to go to that dark place is almost to break yourself down, to build yourself back up. And like the first thing that comes to mind is, I'm 8 weeks post-show, and my first show I had another show planned after it, and I literally let my mind win. My first show, I got 4th out of 8, and in my mind, that was not good enough. And I was like, why am I going to try again? and it ate me alive. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing another show. I don't need to. I have nothing to prove to anyone else. I just proved everything I needed to, and I was in a dark place. And we always say, like, what goes up must come down. So you have to, like, have that awareness. And once I had that awareness to say, hey, that was, like, literally me in a dark place, and, like, I do owe it to myself to come back and figure out that next show. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I have not come this far to only come this far. So time to get uncomfortable, dig even deeper, and figure this thing out, and bet on yourself, because ultimately, like, that's what I stand for. And if that was one of my girls and she looked at me like, hey, I can't do this show because I don't believe in myself. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to believe in you right now, and you're going to go for it. Like, let's do this. And yeah, so the fact that I was able to pull myself out and then go to that next show, that taught me a lot. Because I thought I had reached my peak, but then I was like, wait, I still have more. I'm not done yet. So time to buckle up and figure this out and get out of your own head, because you're not even giving yourself a chance. And that's what my next show was, a natural show. And for 5 years probably, I was like, I want to do a natural show. I want to do a natural show. And then as soon as it came time for that, I got in my head of like, 4th isn't good enough. And here we are. So that, again, you can only go where your mindset allows you to go. And I'm so freaking proud that I just was able to push through and I was able to figure it out, because guess what? Now I can give that to my athletes and say, hey, I've been here before. I know it's scary, but right now you're letting your mind win and you are stronger. And if you don't show up when you originally, that was your plan, you're not even giving yourself a chance.
So how do you find balance between like self-confidence and good timing, if that makes sense? Like, how do you find the balance between all those things?
I think that's an ever-evolving thing. As you're growing, those levels are growing within you. So we're constantly trying to stay in flow, stay in alignment with that. But I will say, I'll work the self-doubt. If you have that doubt, like, time to work harder. Time to dig deeper, time to find ways that you can level up, you can get better, and you can bet on yourself. Because anybody who goes for any big dreams, like, it's scary. That's part of it. It's scary because you're reaching new levels that you've never been to before. You're going to feel like a newbie. You're going to feel nervous to step on stage. But truly, that's like my most fulfilling moments in life, is when I followed through and I got uncomfortable and I still showed up. Because there's that sense of pride that you did almost quit. You did pull yourself out of the darkest place you've ever felt, and you still were able to pull through and become stronger on the other side. And guess what? That kind of goes back to like Mpact as well. Like, you have no idea who is watching you and who is being impacted by the way that you're showing up in your life, because they're like, wow, she suffers with self-doubt. Because some people may see me and be like, no, there's no way. But like, we are our biggest critics, everyone. So I think when you can just, again, be real about that and say, hey, yeah, I've had those dark moments too, but you're stronger than you even know, and you've got this. Like, keep betting on yourself, keep showing up. You never know what could happen.
Most of the things my clients are dealing with, I have felt on some level. And again, everyone's experience is different, and maybe the way they experienced it was different, but the underlying message of like what's going on, or the feelings of self-doubt or whatever it is that they're feeling, I have felt in some area as well. So I do relate it back to them, and I think that helps on a lot of levels, because you want to make sure that it's not about me, but my experience can help in most cases. So I do try to relate it back to me, but still, focus on the goal of them overcoming it. But I will say it does push you to like want to be better and want to grow and learn those lessons, because if I can't do it, I can't sit there and tell someone else how to do it, Mm-hmm. So, and if there is something that like one of my clients is struggling with that I truly just like can't really relate to, we'll go to each other for help. Because if I haven't struggled with it, Miranda probably has, Sierra probably has, our other team member, KP, probably has. So it's something where, yes, I want to relate to them, and in most cases I will. But yeah, you're definitely looking to grow and evolve so that you can educate them, and so that it just feels more authentic. when you relate to them and you truly know, like, okay, I've dealt with this, so I really can help. And if I haven't dealt with it, I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I have and been like, oh yeah, I went through a similar situation and I'm making it up just to make them feel better. Like, no, I'm going to be real, and I'm going to be like, honestly, let me ask Miranda, or let me ask Sierra, or, you know, whoever, because I think that it's important to get a real life example. But yeah, I mean, we're always learning lessons still. We're obviously not perfect. And, you know, sometimes we talk about this. I think sometimes it's like, our impactors come on and they're like, I feel like I can't talk about my struggles because I bet Marcalley or I bet Sierra or Miranda have never been through it. And we have to take a step back and be like, we have. I promise you we have. We are human too, and we have been through it all. So that level of relatability helps a lot.
I would imagine that at some level or some point there might be like a sense of that you don't want to that you don't want to feel like they feel like you're just like this guru, or just like this person who is kind of above it all, or just even that person that's like, man, they say they can relate, and they say they've done these things, but it was so long ago, or like, you know, you don't want to feel like you're above them, but you also want to feel like that they can have confidence in you. And I think that that's almost a tricky balance to strike, is that balance of like, this is my mentor, my coach, but they're also somebody who does get it, and they are kind of, you know, similarly on my level of like just being a human being.
Absolutely. You have to find a way to guide, to support, to encourage, you know, to lead them there without making them feel like they're wrong for what they're feeling. And I don't think I've never had someone come to me and say like, you made me feel bad for feeling this way, you know, so I think we do a really good job of it. But yeah, guiding them, but not making them feel like it's wrong. We are not perfect, and we are very open about that and very vulnerable. I've related to my clients on some pretty deep levels, and I'm never afraid to tell them that. Because it doesn't I don't think that they're never going to think, oh, because she opened up about this and because she struggled with it too, she's weak and she's not strong enough to guide me where I need to be. I think it actually has the opposite effect. It shows them like, oh my gosh, she's not perfect. She's obviously struggled like every other human being on the planet. So, you know, she's found a way to get through it. And I think that makes them feel more comfortable knowing that, okay, if they've struggled with it too, and they've overcome it, or even if it's something I haven't completely overcome yet, I'm still working toward it too. And I'm going to be honest about that too. I'll have clients come to me and be like, you know, I struggled so much with self-image today, and I've come a long way personally with self-image, but I still have days where I struggle. So I'm like, girl, me too. I'm really struggling, you know, and just relating to them on that level of like, yes, I am your coach. I am your mentor. I am here to guide you. There's a reason you hired me, right? But I'm also your friend, and I want them to know that. And I think that there's a balance. In my personal opinion, and I know a lot of coaches are different in the way that they address their clients, but I don't ever want it to be like I say and you're going to do it, you know, or like I'm the leader and you're the follower. It's not like that. It is a relationship, and it's something that I think goes beyond just a coach and a client relationship. And I think we facilitate that. And that's one thing I love about Mpact, is because, you know, I can tell you your macros, your training program all day long, but if you don't have a true, trusting, authentic relationship with the person who's guiding you there, you're not going to want to listen. You're not going to trust them. So facilitating that, but you know, keeping the boundaries, obviously there are boundaries within coaching, but going beyond just the protocols.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's the science of the plan and program and things like that you can get from a lot of people. And you mentioned it before about, is this going to be a good fit? You know, I think you mentioned it too, for me, and then, you know, me for them, and it has to go both ways. And, you know, that's why there's different coaches out there. It's not necessarily, I mean, there's certainly levels of experience and knowledge out there as well, but it's not that necessarily one's better than the other per se. It's more along the lines of, does this fit?
We always say teamwork makes the dream work, and it really does, because it goes both ways. Like, we have to be able to ask those questions. They have to be able to answer, and just having that open and honest relationship is really, that's where we get those big breakthroughs. And if we can't have conversations like that, then yeah, it's very tough to like get those mental shifts that we need to really get them where they desire to go.
Miranda kind of talked a little bit about her, you know, personal bodybuilding and stuff like that journey. And you know, you had mentioned being in this sport for a year and a half, you said about a year and a half. And
yeah, I mean, I've been weightlifting for a few years, but I started with Miranda on like a true structured bodybuilding plan last September. So yeah, about a year and a couple months.
Within that time frame of, September till now, what do you feel like, obviously, just doing the work, the physical side of it, but what, from a mental perspective, do you feel like you've gained the most?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I looked at Miranda and smiled because, I mean, I have come so far, and it honestly is hard. It's scary for me to even like say that, because for so long I didn't think that I was capable of any of it. I didn't think I deserved to chase after this goal, and I didn't even know it was a goal of mine until I had someone to believe in me. But I mean, I think the biggest thing the biggest area I've grown, or the biggest thing that's changed that's so hard. There's so many. I'm like, I don't even know. I would just say the belief in myself. And like I just mentioned, that's something I have always struggled with. I used to dance, and even dancing, I'd be getting ready for a performance and I'd be like, I'm going to mess it up. And I've practiced this stupid routine 100 million times. Like, there's no way I'm going to go out there and mess it up. But it's just, I never believed myself, and I always needed other people to do that for me. And now I think I truly have that belief. And there is still some days of doubt. But also just going into this prep. So I'm about to, I've already started prep, but technically, I'm about to get into like the really deep parts of it. I compete in about 18 weeks. And already I'm just so much more excited for this prep, because I've been through it before. I know what it takes, and I'm in a much better mental place starting out now than I was even last year. And even last year I was like, yeah, I've still come so far, but now I'm like, no, I've really come far this time. But just believing in yourself and having that excitement, the love, and just the passion for it is important. But also just knowing that you have to do the work. So I think the biggest thing is I'm reminded that like I am worthy of this, and I am capable, and I can do it. It's just going to be hard. But that's why you have support and people who you love and care about to help guide you through it. So.
And where have you seen that belief in yourself translate over into the physical side of it, whether it's, obviously the physique side, or just the side of like, okay, I feel maybe more confident, or I believe in myself more, so I'm willing to take something maybe to that next level, or try something new that maybe I was scared of trying before, or anything like that?
I think the biggest area I've seen it is my training. I would always get comfortable with where I was training and say like, okay, it's challenging, so like I'll just stay here for a while. And me and Miranda, we had a leg day like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I'm this strong? Like, what do you mean? Like, I was hitting PRs and putting more plates on it. Like, it was crazy. And it's because I felt more comfortable having someone there to push me. But just in the past few weeks too, we've really, really tapped into like, I have to be the person who says like, dude, put another plate on. Like, do 2 more reps, because you can do it. It's just you get so comfortable, you get so complacent. And so I think that's the biggest area, is it's translated into my training, which has translated a ton into my physique. I'm eating the most food I have right now since my last growth season. So like since my last prep, it's consistently gone up. And now compared to about a month ago, I would say I'm eating a few hundred extra calories a day, and I'm tighter than I was, like physique wise. And it's because of my intention with training, and because of that self-belief that like I can lift heavier and I can do it. And when you believe in yourself too, like I'm much more likely to follow the plan. Like, not that I ever wasn't following the plan, but I definitely fell off track.
Sounds like she's submitting something she might not have before.
No, I'm always really open with Miranda. But there was, a lot of times when I struggled and I was like, I didn't hit my macros today, or I ate, whatever it was. And I just didn't, I still don't think I felt like I was worthy enough, or I truly belonged, or I truly was deserving of it. And now I do think that I believe that. And it helps me focus so much more on the work, and it helps me keep that discipline, because I'm like, I can do it. I'm going to get there. And, it's worth it. It's worth it in the end.
I think having confidence in yourself, it sounds it's almost like, I think some people see like self-belief as almost like a wave, right? Like you're just riding this like thing of self-belief, and if you come off that wave, you don't believe in yourself anymore. Yeah. When in reality, it's like you have this belief in yourself, and then that translates into like, oh, well, let's put another plate on, or let's do another few more reps, because I know that even if I do fail there, like I'm not going to stay there because I have that belief. And so I think, being at that belief leads to maybe more failure in reality, which is only going to push you right into that right direction or that growth. Whereas the, feeling complacent or feeling like, okay, I'm good here now because I'm not very confident myself. So I know that if I do good on this semi-challenging workout, I feel like I'm pretty confident and it's going to help me build confidence. But in reality, I'm going to kind of stay where I am. So it's kind of weird, that relationship between belief and failure, where it's actually going to be a good thing versus not so much belief and success, where it's actually not really building into future success.
Yeah. I mean, success is great, but what do you learn when you succeed, right? You don't learn that much. Maybe you do, but you learn the most when you do fail and when you do have those moments where you're like, I really thought I could do it and I didn't do it. And that's when you grow and that's when you learn. We always say like force the growth. And for so long I was just like saying it, but I didn't truly like take a minute to step back and think about like, you do have to force it, and you force it by failing, by trying something. And a lot of times, you try something and it does not work, but that's when you grow. That's when you learn. And another thing with self-belief is, and I tell my clients this, but I'm like, fake it till you make it. Like, fake it until you truly do believe it. Because if you look in the mirror and your first thought is, oh my God, I'm so ugly, or I wish I was 5 pounds smaller, or, you don't have that confidence. Stop, take it back, like push that thought away and say to yourself, like, I'm so beautiful. I'm where I want to be. And, do those positive affirmations, even if you do not believe them, because it's still better to put that in your mind than negative things, even if you don't believe it in the moment. So literally fake it until you believe it, because it's still better to tell yourself those things.
Yeah, the power of words. I saw this thing yesterday, and I've been kind of, pretty big on the power of words for a while, and the self-talk and being in your own head and stuff like that for a while. But there was this quote I saw about Bruce Lee that was talking about that, and he was like, don't even joke to yourself about the negative. Like, of course you can, like, there's a difference between like really joking with, somebody or with yourself versus saying it in a joking way. He's like, don't even say it in a jokingly way, like to bring yourself down. And he was like, something about, the reason that they call it spelling is because when you're, speaking these words to yourself, you're casting a spell on yourself. And I was like, that's kind of a cool way to think about it, because it's really true. Like, you can either, kind of cast this negative spell that even if you don't see it in the moment, it's going to like linger there and you're just going to be kind of stuck in that mindset.
I love that. No, we had a team call not too long ago on identity shifting. And this is huge, because if you're always telling yourself, oh, I've always been the fat girl, I've always been the fat friend, your actions are going to take that. When you have a choice to go out to dinner and get an appetizer, a meal, and dessert, you're going to do that because that's what you've always done, and that's the identity you're taking on. So your actions are going to follow suit. But if you're like, no, I'm going out to dinner and I'm going to be the fit friend, like, you're going to get a choice that fuels you, that feels better and makes you more proud. That's what we're always asking our girls, like, what is going to make you proud when you do go out to dinner? Because we want you doing that. We want you sticking to those boundaries. We don't want you just getting in that situation and then having your identity like be reflected in your actions. And like, in order for us to become who we want to be, we have to start taking those actions aligned with that. So that was a really big one. We had like all of them write out where they wanted to be, who they wanted to be, the feelings that they wanted to feel every single day. What did their dream day look like? What were they telling themselves? And like, hey, start it now. It may feel weird at first, but guess what? Eventually it will become habit, and now you're making better choices because you have more respect for yourself and you're not downplaying who you are and what you think you are. Because if that's what you think you are, guess what? Everybody else is going to think you're like that too, because that's the actions you're taking. It's
kind of it goes back to that saying of like, actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, like, both of them speak very loud. I mean, they lead to one another.
Another thing that comes, like a saying that comes to my mind when you talk about that is, people always say like, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. But it's like, if you don't believe it, you're never going to see it. So your perspective and your mindset on it, I mean, it dictates everything. Just like you talked about, your words and your actions are directly related to who you are, what you truly believe in. That's going to come out whether it's in your words or your actions. So, actions do hold a lot of value, but just like you said, so do words. And if you're speaking one way, your actions are going to reflect that and vice versa. So you have to focus on both.
I know one thing we've been playing around with a lot is like, does that serve you? If you're like complaining like, oh my gosh, it's so cold out. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. Like, does that serve you? And then you're like, okay, I should have even said that. Like, why am I just wasting energy just complaining? Because really that's deflecting off on her. Like, she's hearing that, and like just being cognizant of your words that come out of your mouth and being intentional about them, and like almost having that self-awareness to like, hey, I'm about to complain, so I'm just not even gonna say it.
Yeah, and doing the reps, like we always say, do the reps, not just in the gym, but like for the mindset work as well. So that's just what you were saying, but it's just as important to do the work, to focus on it, to log it. That's why like on our app and things like that, we have the to-do list for your workouts and all of that good stuff planned out, but we also have that for mindset work as well. And it is just as important to do the reps and focus on them just as much as it is the physical.
We always do the, if like women will give us like one negative feedback, we're like, hey, replace that with 3 compliments about yourself. Mm-hmm. And that starts that rewiring of like the positive self-talk. But yeah, we'll have women check in and they're like, I'm so sick of my flabby stomach. And I'm like, whoa. Let's back it up. Let's be thankful for the fact that you were able to give birth. Let's be thankful for the fact that you have your health, and like just focusing on like your strength, your beauty. You checked in this week. Like, that is huge. 3 weeks ago, we weren't doing that. You're hitting your protein, and just like keeping them focused on their growth moving forward. And again, not going back to that negative thing. So allowing those negative thoughts to like come through, but then also us like reframing it of, how does this body serve me? Because we're so worried about like the physical appearance of it, but also like women's bodies are so resilient and strong. So it's very cool to see. That's why we love Better Every Day, because it's like, how can we get better at our habits every single day? And if we have that core structure, like the sky's the limit. You can really take control of your life and figure out like exactly where you want to go, what you want to do, and just see bigger for yourself. And ultimately, that's the goal.
And your body's your home. So whether you need it for your job or you don't, like if you sit at a computer or you're a firefighter, your body is still your home. And no one's going to take care of it if you don't. So you have to be the one who takes responsibility, whether you quote unquote need it for a specific task or you just need it because you want to live a good, healthy life, and, preventing disease. I mean, there's so many reasons why you should take care of your body, but just reminding yourself, like, if I don't take care of me, no one's going to. No one's going to spoon feed me as an adult every single nutrient that I need. I have to do that. I have to take responsibility and say, like, okay, I need to focus on this within balance, of course.
Well, it was great getting to chat with you both today. I appreciate you coming in and talking about Mpact. It's always fun to kind of, share that around. I think it's super, valuable to spread the word on. Obviously, you all focus on women, but the stuff is applicable to anybody. The information is applicable to anybody, and the mindset stuff and all that. So, I really appreciate you coming in and kind of sharing some tips and sharing, where you are individually as well as with the coaching.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.